Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician. Right now on a sunny day on Spadina, North by Northeast is going on. Getting ready to play tonight is this fella next to me, Devin Cuddy. How you doing, man?
Doing very good. How are you?
Good, man. So, let's start off with, I just read on your website, you got a new album in the works, which it's less than a year since Kitchen Knife, your second album, came out, which to put out a new album, or have a new album prepped already, it's a pretty fast pace, it's pretty prolific. First of all, where are you at with this new album? Is it ready to go? Is there a set date or anything like that for it?
It's still in the conceptual phase, still finishing the writing, but there's a lot of planning that goes into doing a record, getting a studio, getting a producer, getting the guys together, so we've started the kind of mental process that it takes, and then the physical process will start in the fall.
That process, when you say it's kind of like in the conceptual phase, as you put it, does that mean essentially you just have the idea, you want to start working on a new album, or do you have songs already in mind that you know will eventually, or think will eventually appear on it? Like, what is that concept as far as how it starts out?
I have some songs ready, some songs to do, and just kind of trying to write with a sound, like a record sound in mind, and working around kind of an idea for a whole record, although I'm not sure that I have it kind of completely figured out yet, but and just gathering, getting a studio, and maybe looking for a good producer and demoing some stuff. So
when you say like they're figuring out that idea of the album, like for you, is an album just simply the best collection of songs that are ready at that point, or do you want the album to have a unified kind of sound and feel to it?
I think for this one, I'm looking to have a unified kind of sound and feel to it. Our first record, more so than the last one, was just a collection of songs. Usually your first record is what you've been doing up to the thing. Not for everybody, but for me it was. And so now we're working towards, creating a kind of, unified sound for a record front to back that kind of makes sense.
When you're writing, and it may have been different for the first two albums, and it may be different again for this upcoming third album, essentially, are you writing alone and bringing the songs to the band, or is Devin Cuddy Band essentially a band in all forms? Do you write together? How does that work?
No, I do the writing myself. For me, songwriting is a bit of a solitary pursuit. I think it's different for everybody. But the songs take form as a group. Like, they're a shell when I bring it in. And the guys help me fill it out, and whoever else is involved in the record to whatever capacity helps me with that too. So up to, like, the writing part is solitary, but after that there's definitely a group approach for sure.
Have you found over these last kind of 3-4 years, I guess 3 years since Volume 1 came out, has that process changed for you? Not necessarily whether it's solitary or not, but how you approach songs, how songs come to you, and how they eventually take shape. Has that process changed for you?
Yeah, well, I've never been able to lock down like a process, unfortunately for me. It kind of comes and goes, I've never been able to figure out a surefire way to kind of write a song, or like locking myself in the room works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I come up with something in the street, sometimes I don't. I haven't really figured out my pace for that, but what I try to do is just get on the piano every day with it in mind and see what comes out. Sometimes it's a lost cause, and sometimes it's very good. So it's very much a crapshoot for me right now.
Obviously at home, I suppose it's always kind of the elephant in the room, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way, sort of thing. But you have, one of the country's most premier songwriters as your father. Obviously, if people haven't put two and two together, Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo. But is songwriting, is that a thing that you guys have ever actually formally learned from your dad, or is it through osmosis, or do you see it as a separate pursuit from what he does?
Well, no, I mean, certainly he's a great source of knowledge for that kind of stuff, and open and available anytime that I want to ask. I would say it was probably done more from osmosis than him writing out like a list of this is what you have to do, right? And I've absorbed and learned a lot from him over the years, but more than just songwriting, but all sorts of things about the industry, like professionalism and performance-based stuff. And I don't think there's any one rule or anything specific that he taught me about songwriting. I think it's kind of a self-reflection, and you take it from there in whatever direction that you would do that's true to your style or your way.
When I am speaking to artists who either, whether it's parents, family, friends, have some kind of connection to somebody that has had a long and successful career in music, I'm always interested in having that example at home or in your life. Do you find that's changed, not necessarily your own music or how you approach music, but your perspective of music as a career? Has it given you, or inflated, I don't want to say an inflated sense, but has it given you, I suppose, more confidence that music can be a career and be a long-term good career at that?
Definitely, for sure. I think it's not an easy career choice, but it's viable and it's incredibly fun and fulfilling. And I think that watching now Blue Rodeo and my dad and them kind of live that and enjoy it is one of the many driving forces for me to be an artist and pursue that kind of life. And I think it's very fulfilling as an artist to kind of see what you make come to life, and people not just hearing it but liking it and reacting to it and interacting with it. And I think that that's a big part of the fulfillment of all art and just songwriting for me. But it's certainly been something I've strived for, and it's a great life. Like I wouldn't want it any other way, I'll tell you.
To go back to the upcoming album before we wrap up here, I know like we were talking about, it's in the conceptual phase and that kind of thing, but do you have, I know you worked with Greg Keeler on Kitchen Knife, do you have any sense of who you would be working with, or do you have any hopes of who you'd be working with as far as producers on the upcoming album?
Well, that's part of the pre-phase, is trying to figure out the personnel, and we haven't found anyone yet, and we're working on a list of people to approach. But, I don't want them to find out through this, so we'll go to them first, and I'll let you know.
Fair enough. Generally speaking, when you're working with a producer, I'm always interested in that kind of dynamic between the writer, artist, and the producer. And so some artists want a producer that's essentially just filling the technical end, getting down the sound that they want. And some writers want a producer that's going to have input and going to help them shape the sound of the album. Like, for you, have you figured out what you prefer as an artist in that respect? What kind of producer do you like working with?
Well, no, I did the first one myself, which was fun, but I think we'll try and take on a very hands-on person. Greg was hands-on, but I was very comfortable with Greg and I. Like, I've known him forever, and it was kind of like doing it with a friend. And so I think we would approach it this time a little more hands-on, but I'm open to try different things that we haven't tried yet. So that's kind of what my idea about it is trying to make this record in a way that we haven't made the other two, and see what we get out of that. So.
Well, man, I know this was a bit last minute here, and you got a busy day and everything, so I really appreciate you taking a few minutes. I enjoyed it, eh?
My pleasure. Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, man.